My name is Cory Talaska. Welcome back to episode 2 of the 2025 Formula Drift recap series for our season. This is being brought to you by a little bit more comfy position in my PRP seat from the E46, which unfortunately is empty right now, but is going to be getting a new heart that is going to be a lot more similar to the Pro car, which is going to make next year a whole lot more fun. We are here to talk about New Jersey. One of my favorite tracks, hands down. It's unique with the stadium style, the hype around it, the community around it, all of the drivers, so many of them being from that area, having experience at the track, resources to pull from. It just like the entire event, the mood out of kind of everyone seems to be pretty good right out the start of the weekend, you know, with Nap Shop being on the other side, the Englishtown road course being there. It's a good venue. Coming to this round, I remember thinking back to the beginning of this year, I was nervous. I was more nervous coming into Jersey than I've kind of ever been before a drift event because of following up Atlanta. Atlanta setting the tone for the year, I think surprising some people, surprising ourselves, all kinds of stuff. It definitely like put a weight on my shoulders that I was trying to process and didn't want to like let down, but was pretty nervous about it. We did get to do some testing 2 weeks before the event, which was super helpful. That's one place usually every year that we make the drive out to test. It is like 19 hours there and 19 hours back. We usually do it in a day. Like a day, meaning like we'll leave after work, like the day before, drive all the way there, practice, like get there in the morning, and then check out that night. So that's what we did. We've done that for the past couple of years, and it's been super valuable to us for setup wise, for my comfort wise going into a track. Yeah, it's been super huge, and I don't get that opportunity a lot to test at an FD track with other FD drivers. Yeah, I feel like I almost got more, I got really good tandem practice in the test day with Brian Hopp, and it was kind of sick because we were able to check pace off of each other. He was driving super aggressive. We were definitely tandeming a little bit much for probably a test day where neither of us wanted to fix our cars for the event, but it kind of got to a point where we were just having fun. We were still trying stuff on our car. We weren't just driving to drive. Every lap we were trying to learn something, but yeah, we were definitely sending it in pretty good, and that was a lot of fun. Taking that momentum from the test day, from Atlanta, from the test day into Jersey was good. I mean, I would say that we came out and I felt consistent kind of right out the gate. New Jersey, up until this year, has always been like my best performing track. I have multiple top 8s there and multiple top 16s. So I knew that if we could do good at Atlanta, if there was going to be another track that we were going to be able to hopefully do good at, going into Jersey was one that I actually felt pretty comfortable with. Pretty much from the start of the weekend, I felt like we were able to push the limits of the car, of the track, of everything. They changed the zones a little bit that felt like it made flow a lot better. Obviously, with them doing the interclip box, how they did in Atlanta, we could kind of tell that the judges and FD were going to adjust the track throughout the year that would probably accommodate tandems a little bit more. And they kind of did that at Jersey as well. They adjusted OZ2, the entrance to it, a little bit earlier, which kind of forced basically the lead driver to come over from OZ1 to OZ2 a little bit faster, which made the transition in the chase a lot more natural, because it always ended up being is no matter kind of how tight you were, if the lead driver wasn't getting into OZ2 kind of late because they were kind of just going straight at the wall, the chase driver would always kind of have to chop line in a weird way or just time it perfectly, which is always kind of a gamble to some degree. So them adjusting the track in a positive manner, I thought was pretty sweet. We did get a little bit of a heads up on it on the test day, so Hop and I were aware of kind of what was going on or what to expect a little bit. And so on the actual day where we saw the track, I was like, sweet, this feels kind of like what we practiced, feels pretty good, because that transition into OZ2 is like the most important transition on like the entire track. At least that's how I've always kind of felt it, both in lead and in chase. So because of our points in round one, we did not have to go into seating. Practice was a little odd for us there. We came out in the first round of practice and felt good. Like the first round of practice, we had to tweak the car a little bit, adjust grip a little bit. We adjusted gearing, but the car still felt balanced from where we had set it up on the test day, and making minor suspension adjustments, which was something that we tried to focus on this year a lot more than previous years, where we were adjusting air and gearing a lot more liberally, where now we are trying to focus a lot more on alignment and suspension and using air as like the kind of the quick adjustment. Hey, the driver we're battling is fast, let's adjust a tiny bit of grip using air that way, or hey, they're really slow, let's modify that way. So the way we were approaching setup this year was definitely showing positively for the way the car was feeling, and the adjustments we were making felt a little bit more purposeful and specific, instead of where adjusting air pressure does have a tendency to adjust the car overall. Forward grip, side bite, all kinds of how the car decels, kind of everything. Where we were trying to be a little bit more precise on what we were adjusting to affect certain things just on throttle or just in certain parts of angle or drift of the track. Going into the second round of practice, I believe it was, we did get into a collision with Lewis Lance. It was just kind of one of those drifting things. I actually got kind of skunked off the line a little bit. I was like, dang, okay, we're sending it in. I threw it in, I had a decent bit of space, and I was like, sweet, this will be a good kind of tell for me to see what pace I have in my car. I'm gonna try to catch him. I was a decent bit back. But being that little bit back, you're kind of in the smoke a little bit. But I feel pretty comfortable at Jersey, and I've put a lot of laps on the sim in there with full smoke on. So I come out of OZ1 and basically fully commit to the transition, and mid of my car basically weight transferring, he spins out into OZ2, and there was probably 3 decisions I could have made at that point. I don't know if I would have 100% avoided him at all anywhere, but I did try to hit him in the best spot. It wasn't that hard of a hit, but it was just in a dumb spot. We kind of just booped corner nose to nose. I think for him as well, but for us, it mostly was just like a bash bar boop. It did puncture our charge piping, but because Chris Knapp has a shop there and he was very generous to let us use that space, Jelani went over and was able to fix it and come back. We were able to put the car back together without too much of an issue, did not even bump alignment out or anything, and get back on the track. And then as soon as I go out, we're trying to get one run in on the last like really close to the end of practice. We can maybe get like 1 or 2 runs in. It's pretty tight. And I got to do a run with Cameron Sorensen, who him and I have been, I got to meet him this year. We've been kind of bashing back and forth. He's a cool kid for sure. And he chased me. So it's the first time I'd ever driven with him. And he committed super hard into chase, and it was just like 2% too much, like just a little bit. And he hit me on entry, and it took my rack out. So the rack kind of got screwed with that, and I was like, all right, sweet. I just want a lap. When you're in practice, and this is at any level of anything, when you have like 3 laps of practice in a row that go bad, you're like, no matter how comfortable you're feeling with the track, with your car, you're like, oh man, I'm like all messed up. My mind's everywhere. Like, what do I got to do to like kind of get back dialed in? So what we opted to do was actually leave the rack that was kind of stuttering in and put the car, fix the tie rod that got bent when he hit me, and just get back out on the track and make one lap. I was able to go down, get one chase in, and it was sick. It was a really good chase, and I like all of that pressure from the day of like messing the car up, it just kind of like wiped away. And I knew going into the next day that we were going to have another round of practice in the morning and go into our 32 with a little bit more of a balanced, clear mind.
Red BMW, Coffin chasing him down in the outside zone. Talaska, quick little yank of the handbrake into that first outside zone. Down to the second, Coffin chases him down into that second long. Look at that, very smooth by Talaska. I'll tell you, just the posturing of Talaska this season seems to be really dialed, very fixated, still having fun, but just has a good energy about him and a good way. Look at that, I mean, placement of that car was really spot on, and I think it gave Coffin a real good advantage. That's what the theme was from round one.
All right. Next day, we're into top 32 against Ryan Kaufman. I had a lot of confidence going into it. I really feel like I was like, all right, if I just do the leads I was doing in practice, not the ones we crashed in, and the chases that I was able to do in practice, I think we can pull this off. We were able to execute that and get out the win, but I left a lot on the table. You know, I made a bunch of mistakes. I believe I was a little bit shallow getting into two, even proximity-wise. I definitely had to play catch up a little bit and get there. So I knew his car was fast, I knew his lap times, but you know, I definitely was just, I don't know, instead of being at 100% brain capacity in that run, I was like at 80%. And, but luckily we got the win, and it kind of woke me up for like kind of what we had to do. But that ended up also being like slightly my downfall going into top 16 battle with Amanda Sorensen.
As good as it is getting that clean air, this is where you get the win. The chase is where it gets done here as Coffin initiates. He dipped that back left in. Talaska kind of tiptoed his way up to it. Doesn't exactly fit full on. Coffin sets it in that outside zone. And Talaska, you can see just maybe a little trepidatious here. Now going to the last outside zone. Coffin throws it in. Talaska, like I said, just you could see kind of reeling back a little bit.
This battle was honestly a ton of fun. She had been driving really well all weekend. I had ran, I think actually 2 practice laps with her throughout all the practice leading up to this. So I knew her car was quick, she was on it, and she was running like really consistent leads. So I knew that just like Atlanta, we had to run a good lead had to be there. If we didn't have a good lead, it didn't matter how good our chase was, it was gonna be really hard to come out of the battle with a win.
See how they handle that initiation into outside zone 1. Talaska brings it in, drops that tire, set, rubber meets the road. It gets a little loose into that initiation. Talking about a point of contention. It's not a big deal, but Talaska makes it part of the problem. Look how nicely lined the course is. You can really see where those outside and that front clip zone is at. Now crossing the finish line, Talaska.
So went out there, laid down a lead, and as soon as I entered, I was just that little bit of adrenaline, that little bit of something, I dropped left rear over the zone. So that was bam, deduction right away. So anything that she did behind me, they were gonna fault me for that scenario. I go into 2, consistently fill 2, feel good about that, hit the interclip's no problem. I go into 3 and I transition, and the car in transition, I think I paused it, I did something weird. I'm not sure what kind of input that into the car that I put in it that caused it, but I definitely did something. So I transitioned, and instead of letting the car kind of fully get to rotate to really put all the load in the left rear, I never fully let the car weight transfer. I still had like the right rear kind of loaded up, and the car wanted to straighten out. So I basically did what I could do, is just full throttle clutch kick out, and went through the zone, but it was extremely obvious that there was like a hiccup there. So I knew that that was gonna be a pretty big deduction, and I knew that our chase had to be spot on and hope that she slipped up somewhere.
Sorensen, 960 BMW, initiates in that first outside zone. She brings in nice and tight. Talaska right there in the pocket transition. kind of slow transition there from Amanda. Rolled into it. Now that second outside zone puts it right in the perfect place. Good angle. Talaska wavering in that chase position, kind of bounces forward and back. Now to that last outside zone. There goes Amanda using all of it, filling it up very, very well by Amanda Sorensen. Talaska, like I said, bouncing back and forth. So
going into the chase, I knew that I had to be perfect in every single way to even have a chance at like a one more time, you know. I didn't zero on my run, but it was definitely a big enough mistake that Pro Spec this year, when you got into the top 16, and most of the time even in the 32, just got bombed by a fly. Going into the 32s, top 16, everything, it's killer mode. Like everyone has stepped it up so much, it's intense. So I throw it in the chase. We have pretty good proximity through the whole run. It's really smooth. Her lead was really good. I could have been a little bit closer. I was still really happy with our chase. Our transition timing was really good. Proximity on entry was really good. It was almost maybe a little bit too much because it might have caused me to sacrifice a little bit going into 2, but it still felt really good, but I knew that it wasn't enough to edge out the mistakes that I made. It might have been good enough if I only dropped left rear on entry because there was a little bit of a gap that maybe it didn't affect her. But my hiccup into OZ3 was it. That was kind of what sealed my fate on that battle. Now after that run and we lost, I felt a little relieved and sad. Like, of course, obviously, after coming off of a win of Atlanta, top 16 wasn't enough, you know? Like, we're like, no, we gotta totally take what we learned from this round, take what we learned from the first round, and do what we can to do in St. Louis. So, but there was definitely, I needed to go through that. Like, I needed to go through the letting myself down after like everything going well, because I was able to kind of realize, you know, where I made my mistakes, how I made my mistakes in driving throughout the entire weekend, and, you know, hopefully we can learn from that kind of stuff. I mean, drifting is one of those scenarios where it's hard to practice those emotional moments. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of drivers, pro and pro spec, some people who compete at arguably higher levels than Formula Drift, you know, that kind of, it's crazy where they can be amazing talent, 11 out of 10, and then as soon as the competition kind of part of it comes into play, it totally frazzles you. There's just a lot on the line. You start to think of every scenario, your partners, your like the fans, people watching, announcers, your competitors. You're like, you want to perform. Are you doing it for yourself? Other people, like all this emotion, and it's definitely like a skill to be able to tone it all out. You know, just talk to yourself pretty much is what I pretty much try to do, because I know what I want to do, I know what my end goal is, and I know what that I want to do that for basically myself and our team. So that's kind of my weird emotional thought process on kind of like how I've had to grow and learn how to kind of balance my mindset in Formula Drift competition, because that's arguably, again, what kind of took me out of so much for the first 4 years of Formula Drift. So that's it. This is a lot shorter recap. Thank you for hanging along for the New Jersey recap, going through that stage of emotion and roller coaster a little bit with me. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you want to continue seeing more. This video will obviously be dropping the time you are watching it. And then the review of St. Louis is gonna be on like the second day of SEMA. That'll be dropped when I'm out there. I'm going to Vegas, so that should be fun. I'm gonna try to get a little bit of vlog content out there. We'll see what I can muster up. It should be a good time, but enjoy. Bye.